Okay, let's summarize. We're learning the Sikha Tavshem Zayin Yud Shvat Ahadran on the Rambam, and the Rambam the Rebbe speaks about here is about Bias Eliyahu, and there are two arguments that the Rebbe brings. The argument is when is Eliyahu Navi coming? Either first the Rambam says that Eliyahu Navi comes only after Moshiach comes, and he's going to come liyasher ha'olam, to come and straighten out people in the world. That's the first svara in the Rambam. The second svara, the V'yesh Chalkim, which is sort of the more commonly accepted opinion, but the Rambam only brings it as a second opinion. Mashiach comes after Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu comes before. Sorry, let me just phrase it earlier. Eliyahu comes before to be mevaser about the arrival of Mashiach.
Does that have to do with the Hoshana, but it says Kol Mavasa Mavasa?
Kol Mavasa Mavasa Vaymer? Possibly, yeah.
But not necessarily.
Possibly, yeah. Then there's another argument that Rebbe brings regarding Eliyahu Navi. What exactly is Eliyahu Navi coming to do? Right. So besides being mevaser, the arrival of Mashiach, but Eliyahu Navi is also going to do other stuff. So there's a Mishnah in the end of Hayrius that talks about this, and there's various opinions. And the main discussion there is if you remember, regarding Yichus. You have people that are part of Klal Yisrael that don't belong in Klal Yisrael. We discussed last week the whole discussion regarding Mir Yehudi, people that have that claim that they're Jewish but they're not. And then you have people that really are Jewish, but they fell out of Klal Yisrael. Could even be they were forced out of Klal Yisrael. That's what the Rambam brings here. So the question is, will Eliyahu Navi come and mix into that question? Will he come and be mekarev anyone, be merachik anyone? The Rambam's conclusion is Eliyahu Navi only comes for one thing, to make shalom ba'olam. Just to make shalom. He's not coming to deal with anybody's yichus. That you'll have to look into the Torah and see what the psak din is. Eliyahu Navi is not getting involved in that. So the question that the Rebbe has on both of these subjects here is, how could you say that there's a machlokes b'metzias? Why is there an argument here about a fact? The timing of when Eliyahu is coming, what it is that Eliyahu Navi is going to come to do, doesn't make sense to say that there's a machlokes b'metzias. That's the question of the Rebbe. So here in Sif Dalet, the Rebbe gives a answer, and this is going to prove, they're going to show to us that it's not actually a machlokes b'metzias. Regarding the facts, everybody agrees. Okay, so let's continue inside. Sif Dalet. So the answer here is as follows. The following introduction. Regarding the fact that Eliyahu Navi comes and Lasid Lavai, there are two different ways that he comes. What does this mean? Aleph, first is Kechelek Ushlav Haschala Degula. Eliyahu Navi comes as a part of and a certain step in the actual Gula itself. Shazenema, the pasuk describes, this is one of the nevuos. When Mashiach comes, Eliyahu Navi will come before the Yom HaGadol V'Hanoira to let people know about the coming of Mashiach, and that's a certain beginning of Gola. That's the pashtus what we was discussing till now. Eliyahu Navi coming as part of Gola. But days. This pasuk we didn't have it quoted before. Just a second. I think it may have been quoted before. And it's a pasuk in Malachi. Yeah. Okay, that's one inyan of Eliyahu Navi. Beis, but then there's a second point. Ki'inyan b'fnei atzmai. Eliyahu Navi is active and has been active since he came into the world. And actually, it says that Eliyahu is a Pinchas. So really. Wow. Pinchas and then Eliyahu, and then even after, Rebbe will point out all the details. Eliyahu Navi is active throughout history. So the fact that Eliyahu Navi will be there in the time of Mashiach, and this is something that Eliyahu Navi will do, doesn't necessarily mean that his coming is as a stage of Geula. When Geula happens, Eliyahu Navi will be active as well, but not necessarily is it related to the Geula of the world or the Geula of the Yidden. In other words, it means as follows: Even after Eliyahu Navi will come, the Yasa Kama Pulas Chulu, and there are different activities he'll do. Not necessarily is his activities as a portion or as a step in Geula. It's Bechlal. We find throughout history that Eliyahu Hanavi is active in all kinds of ways. Eliyahu Hanavi, in all the stories that you find in Sefer Malachim, in the times of Tanakh, Eliyahu Hanavi, when in his lifetime in this world, Eliyahu Hanavi did all kinds of things. Then over here quotes with kids are a few of the famous ones. Divrei Nivuase La'achav. Eliyahu Hanavi dealt with Achav, which was one of the Malchei Yisrael, which was a Russia, and when there was a hunger and all kinds of things that he spoke to Achav about. Then the famous story, Hama'orem Nevi'ah Baal Bahar Carmel, when he took the Yidden that was serving Avodah Zarah, they were serving the Baal, and he brought them all in the mountain Har Carmel, and they brought then the carbon, and that was to disprove this Avodah Zarah. All the different stories that are recorded in Tanakh, about things that he did in his lifetime. Before Eliyahu Hanavi, so when it came time for Eliyahu Hanavi to pass away, Eliyahu Hanavi never passed away, but what happened? His whole entire being, Guf and Neshama, got elevated in a sara, in a wave or in a wind, and he got elevated to heaven, Begufay Mamish, with his body. So even now, the Rebbe continues, even after Eliyahu Hanavi's elevation to Shemayim, Valderech Zeh, V'ikir Benidin Didon, and this is what's relevant over here for what we're discussing, Shuhu La'acha Aloisa Shemayim, after Eliyahu Hanavi goes up to heaven, Kama V'kama Inyonim U'murois B'zmanim Shalach Zeh. There's a lot of different stories about Eliyahu Hanavi in later generations as well. K'mavur B'medrash Razal, it's brought in Gemara different stories about many different Amiroim that had conversations with Eliyahu Hanavi. This is the famous Gemara which discusses where one of the Amiroim met Eliyahu Hanavi and asked him, when's Moshiach coming? And he told him, Hayoim. And Moshiach didn't come today. So that he said in the Koilet to Shmo, many conversations that different Amiroim, Amiroim had with Eliyahu Hanavi. Chlau, we know Eliyahu Hanavi, the Minyan Ma'ariv will be in the Vaybrish section. So B'chlau, we know Eliyahu Hanavi comes to every bris. Eliyahu is the Malach HaBris, and Eliyahu Hanavi comes to every Pesach Seder. But there are times that Eliyahu Hanavi comes Neshama B'guf. Those that are Zeicha to see him and to have a conversation with Eliyahu Hanavi B'Shama B'guf. That's what I was referring to over here, Be'ikir. Especially, you have Tana de Beliyahu Zute, Tana de Beliyahu Rabbe. These are halachas that Eliyahu Hanavi taught, and they're all recorded in these two Sfarim, Tana de Beliyahu Zute, Tana de Beliyahu Rabbe. There were different times that Eliyahu Hanavi came after he passed away and taught these halachas. So we see that Eliyahu Hanavi is active throughout history, and he remains in a Neshama B'guf, and he appears whenever it's necessary. So when Mashiach comes, there's such a major occurrence happening, such a major revolution in the world. So Eliyahu Hanavi is needed, not as a stage of redemption, but for certain things. Eliyahu Hanavi, just like he's active in other times of history, so he's active now in this time as well. So the point that Rebbe is saying over here is when you talk about the coming of Eliyahu, usually we refer to that as, Eliyahu is here. That means that Mashiach is around the corner. But then there's another concept. Eliyahu Hanavi just comes to do certain things that only Eliyahu Hanavi has the power to do, and he's a human being, but at the same time a malach, and he has the power to do certain things, and Eliyahu Hanavi on different occasions comes. So here the Rebbe explains, Va'plukte, so now we had the various arguments before regarding what Eliyahu Hanavi is going to do and when he's going to come. What are they arguing about? They're not arguing about the facts of when he's going to come or what he's going to do. The machlokes is b'pirush haposik. How do you touch the pasuk when it says Hinei anechi shelech lechem b'Eliyahu v'heishav leiv avos albanim? Ma hem ha'inyonim? What are those details? Shenechlalim b'bias Eliyahu kechelek ushlav de'geula. Which details is Eliyahu Hanavi going to do that is a step and a certain part of redemption? That's the question. But everybody agrees that Eliyahu Hanavi will do all kinds of things, but they're not going to be as part of the Geula. It's just separate things. The question is, which things will Eliyahu Hanavi do as a chelik of the Geula, and which will he do like the other activities that he's done throughout history? That's the machlokes over here regarding coming of Eliyahu. Okay, so this basically settles the whole entire Inyan that it's not anymore a machlokes b'metzias. It's a machlokes how to define Geula. Okay, that's an akudah. Yeah, understood? Clear? Okay, so should we learn one more sif? Okay, let's go. One more sif. Sif A. So the Rebbe explains it, but the Rebbe spells this out as this applies to the machlekes regarding whether Eliyahu and Navi will come to be merachek or be mekarev, regarding yichus and so on. So haplukte be Mishnah. So we have the machlekes in the Mishnah regarding Eliyahu's and Navi's actions. In Baal Rachek or Lekarev, will Eliyahu and Navi come to be merachek certain people from Klal Yisrael? Will he be mekarev others? Or maybe Lekarev avaloi lerachek, he'll only be mekarev and not be merachek. Oi, as the final opinion, which the Rambam Paskins last says, Shalom Bailam, will only come to bring peace in the world. So, or based on we just explained, we can't say that there's an argument there about the facts. So, that means everybody agrees. Those that push their way by force into Klal Yisrael, Eliyahu and Navi will deal with them. He will be merachik them. And those that were pushed out of Klal Yisrael, Eliyahu and Navi will also deal with them. He'll bring them back into Klal Yisrael. Everybody agrees to this. And here the Rebbe adds, though, there is one portion of Yidden or people that were mixed into Klal Yisrael that Eliyahu and Navi will leave alone. Verak mishpacha shenitma, family that got assimilated into Klal Yisrael, machmas shleimnei da psula, because it's unknown their status if they were kosher or apostle. Yani chena b'kashrusa. Eliyahu and Navi will leave them on their status that they're kosher. I'm not 100% sure what this means. Does this mean that originally, when they got mixed into Klal Yisrael, their status was known? It's just that through time, they slowly got assimilated and people forgot? Or does this mean that it's dafka, a family that got assimilated into the Klal Yisrael, and from the very beginning, there was no clear status about them. They was sort of questionable, and they just sort of were left to be in Klal Yisrael, so there was never any chazaka that they're not part of Klal Yisrael. So they're, no, doesn't seem like it. Not necessarily. I don't think so. So this family, which is unknown, and they got assimilated into Klal Yisrael, that Eliyahu and Navi will leave them alone. Even goyim, that's what it's. Well, like I said, lav dafka means people that were outright goyim and they sort of pushed away into Klal Yisrael in the beginning, and then just over time they got forgotten. But it means some kind of psulim or some kind of situation where there was fakus about this. If it's a case where the psul of these people in Klal Yisrael are known, but they forcibly pushed away into Klal Yisrael, that Eliyahu Navi will deal with. So we find the machlokes about this. So the argument is Eliyahu Navi dealing with the yichos, part of Eliyahu Navi clearing things out in Klal Yisrael, which is a chelik of Geula. The Rambam before described that the halach l'Moshe Misinai says that a step in Geula is to get rid of the chamasim amongst Klal Yisrael. How did we translate the word chamasim last week? What was it? The troublemakers, the what? The destroyers, or the whatever. You had another word from me last week. It was I forgot the word right now. The vandalizers. I think that's what it was. The vandalizers. Violent. The violent people, whatever. So that's the lashon. The Rebbe is quoting the lashon of the Rambam. The Rambam says as a chelik of Geula, Klal Yisrael will be cleaned out, and the Yasser HaChamasim. Shekabala b'yadeinu and Moshe Rabbeinu oides b'yis Eliyahu b'keshel Mashiach in connection to the coming of Mashiach. So the question is whether the cleaning out the yichus of Klal Yisrael is that part of the coming the Eliyahu Navi coming to prepare the way for Mashiach, or Shapola the Richok v'Kiruv. This that Eliyahu Navi will deal with the yichus of the Yidden. That's a separate activity that Eliyahu Navi does, and it's not related to the union of Mashiach. Again, only when Mashiach comes, correct? But it's not related to Mashiach, correct? Look, correct. I mean, this needs a hesber. Why it should be related to Mashiach? Why not? Right? It does require additional hesber. But we'll say a little bit of a hesber soon in the sikha here. But that's the point here. Is it a shlav in Geula, or is it a separate union? It's not, it doesn't relate to silika chamasim. Silika chamasim, to remove vandalizers, that refers to shalom. making peace in the world. As long as people are living in peace, however you describe peace, there's many different ways how to describe what peace means. So then Geula is complete, is good. The yichus, that's not critical for the Geula. That's not a necessary part or a stage in Geula. Okay, that's one opinion. Now the Dasal, so Rabbi explains the Das Tanakama. The Tanakama's opinion here is Richakamu Kuravim Bezroya, Yikirvam Ruchokim Bezroya, to be Mekarev and to be Merachik, both Shneim B'chlal Achamosim Anal Shisalik Eliyahu. This actually is related to specifically the time period of Mashiach and the whole Indian of Geula. But that's Rabbi Yehuda. What Rabbi Yehuda says, Silak HaChamas, the idea of removing these vandalizers, that's bringing closer those that were pushed out by force. But being merachik, those that were in Klal Yisrael, this is something that Eliyahu Hanavi will do. And again, the Rebbe points out, only a mishpacha that's already fully assimilated, he'll leave them alone. When it was known that they're puzzle, they forced their way into Klal Yisrael, so become Makaim. This is not part of Eliyahu Hanavi clearing out the vandalism that there is as a shlav in Geula. L'salak HaChamas is the shleimus of Geula, to get rid of Chamas in the world. The Shleima, as Rabbi explains very bekitzish, Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is Shekirov Bezroya Eine Chamas. People that force their way into Klal Yisrael cannot be counted as vandalism, as an Indian of Chamas. Why not? I'm not 100% Kirov. The fact that people are trying to push their way into Klal Yisrael is not called Chamas. People that were torn away from Klal Yisrael, that's called Chamas. The fact that there are people that were ripped away from their roots, torn away from Klal Yisrael, that's Chamas. So that is definitely a chelik of a shlav of Geula to bring those Yidden back into Klal Yisrael. But those people that pushed their way into Klal Yisrael inappropriately or that they weren't supposed to, that's like not the right thing, but that's not called Chamas.
How many people push their way
into Klal Yisrael?
Now maybe,
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Yeah, throughout history and the time of persecution and whatever, and it's all.
And you wouldn't accept them.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. The final opinion that Rebbe says, Uladas Chachamim. And then the Chacham's opinion is Ein Oisik B'Yuchsin, or maybe Ein Oishik B'Yuchsin. Not sure exactly. There's no extortion in regarding Yuchsin. Ubemele Avshaliyo Yasazeh. So the Chachamim say Eliyahu Hanavi will definitely let know people what their yichus is, but Ein Zeh B'chlal Pulase L'Salek HaChamosim. But since this is the concept of yichus, you can't consider that to be in the category of chamos. Whether people that pushed their way in or people that were torn away from Klal Yisrael, that's not in the category of getting rid of chamos. Ela Pu'ole the L'Salek HaChamosim Yilas Shalom Ba'olam. The L'Salek HaChamosim just means to bring peace in the world. That's what Geula consists of. If you know how to define Geula, so then you'll understand which activity of Eliyahu Hanavi is part of Geula and which activity of Eliyahu Hanavi is just things that he does in this time period. But it can't be considered to be a stage of Geula. That's the chiddush of the Rebbe here in the Sikha. Okay, the Rebbe will spell out some more details as we'll see in the Hemshech of the Sikha. It needs more. It requires more explanation, right?
Yeah, what do we need explanation on?
How do we really understand better